And to add on top of that, people who produce banal and ridiculous content like cat videos or fail compilations or something like that get millions upon millions upon millions of views. I see that stuff all the time. But at the same time, if you look at that and you start getting resentful, then you start saying, or your mind starts to flip, and instead of you seeing it not being about yourself but about God, which is about love, it starts to become about yourself, and you really do start compounding that narcissism, and the evil starts to project on you. You see what I'm saying? So in order to fight back, you just got to keep on going until you literally have nothing left. Until the gas in your tank is completely depleted. Even the fumes are gone. That's just the way this world works, and you have to admit to reality if you want to change it. Because there's not enough trust here. Because there's not enough trust, we have to pay for our success in a pound of flesh and or giving up on our missions, which is really a pound of flesh in a different sense. Selling your soul. But if you never do, if you just keep going, well, what does that mean? It would be the ultimate expression of your love for humanity, because everything in this world is upside down, to go until the end and die having never given up. Or, in fact, it's not. It is the ultimate expression, reaching your absolute limit and then giving up. It's weird and paradoxical, but it's a thing. So yeah, I kind of tied like 5 different things in together there. Anyways, you have to have a mission, and you have to have a mechanism through which you execute that mission, and that mechanism requires a goal. And that goal being your cross. Well, the mission being your cross. And really, anybody who is not a projection, not a non-player character or an NPC, should have the mission of advancing humanity. That is, expressing love for one another and making things more joyous and hopeful and happy. That should be the mission of everyone, because that's God. For those who don't have that mission, they don't really exist. They have not been born inside because they're too caught up in other nonsense. I mean, they're not there. They're empty. That's the very essence of sin. The penalty of sin, the wages of sin, is death. And sin are those things that are not fruitful, that do not produce fruit. Those things that do not produce fruit are dead. So, for instance, homosexuality. It is a sin. But what does that mean? It means it does not bear fruit. That is how it's a sin. You can't have children in that way. And if you do have children, it is acceptance of the reality that you need to do it in a certain way in order to bear fruit. So there was at least something in you that was not sinful. That is, you used the sperm of a human being, another man, to inseminate an egg, which is a heterosexual means by which a baby is created. At least as we know it now, we can't do it with 2 ovums. Or the DNA from 2 females. Just doesn't work. Or 2 males for that instance. You can't bear the baby. Using that as an example. Being resentful or hating, those things only destroy. Okay. So, anyways, that aside. It's the biggest thing, and I do hope that you guys will think about it more. The 5 people that may watch this video eventually, or listen to my speaking. Let's see, what's another topic in the world today? Brexit. So I find it to be tragic and utterly insulting that Theresa May disregarded the wishes of the majority of the population of her country and stopped Brexit. She didn't listen to him. There is no real democracy or any semblance of it if people vote and it is not listened to. Now, it can be made... So that's the problem with the EU. The EU gives you the facade of being democratic in that they give you a vote as to whether or not you want to join it or anything else that they try to do. But they'll just vote you into exhaustion. They will keep on bringing the vote up every 2 to 5 years or whatever it might be. Say, for instance, Portugal decides not to become a member of the EU, and they do this via vote. They say that they don't want to be members of the EU for 20 years straight. But the vote is brought up every 2 to 3 years. Eventually, they're going to get exhausted, and they're going to stop doing it because the EU just won't relent. Those are my thoughts on Brexit. The people have already decided, in general, that they don't want to be members of the EU, which I think was a brilliant idea. Very good idea. They want their sovereignty, their nation. They actually have some love for themselves that still remains. Good. That's very good, because you can't love anybody else if you don't first love yourself. And the simple fact that they voted for that, and it's been made so apparent how little Theresa May and the government is listening to them, which basically means that they're totalitarian, and the left doesn't listen either because they think that they're left anyway. They think that their right, or UKIP, is ridiculous or stupid or out of touch, etc., 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 when they're the majority of the population, therefore they're not out of touch. But since this has been so greatly publicized, it is clear that nobody wants what Theresa May and the left of their country were doing. This is a very good thing. So even if they do become members of the EU, as long as this remains like a megaphone and everybody keeps paying attention to it, then even if they become members of the EU, everybody knows that they don't consent. So they're not going to be able to execute much of their plans, if any at all. It's kind of the same way when it comes to the border wall in the United States. We do need to build it. I am adamant about that. It must be built. And what President Trump said with respect to it, it's not that we don't hate those that are outside the border, but we love those who are inside it, was perfect. That is exactly what it is. You have to, it's like leaving a diamond on the ground, right? A 5-carat diamond just sitting on the ground. Yeah, let's say that let's say that some business professional in the United States with a strong moral code, let's say they're Christian, sees the 5-carat diamond on the ground. They pick it up, they look at it, and they look around, and then they put it in their pocket, and then they go talk to some people to try to figure out who it belonged to. Or maybe they see somebody that dropped it out of the back of their pocket. They're going to run up to them, tap them on the shoulder, and say, "Hey, you dropped this." That's because that's the morality of the United States. Not everybody shares that morality. It's basically like leaving a 5-carat diamond on the ground that somebody dropped without any borders around it at all. Just letting anybody come in. You have to protect what you have or else you lose it. I mean, this is a very basic concept. And those who don't understand it, I mean, what the hell is going on in your minds? How brainwashed are you? It's a very basic concept. You have to protect what you have. You can't build anything if you don't protect what you first have. You need a strong foundation before anything can be built upon it. The United States is basically a beachhead, just like Great Britain is. And they need to protect what they have. And Ireland needs to do the same thing. really all of Western civilization needs to do the same thing. In fact,